regarding your home loan.
I'm afraid if we don't see a minimum of $22,000 by the end of the month, we'll have to repossess the property.
I'm going to fix this, Jack. I promise. So we are talking cash.
15,000 on the day of wedding, 10,000 1 month after.
I know what I'm doing, okay? I got this sorted. And everything's going to be fine. Mrs. Morton, hi.
Oh, your mum didn't tell me you were getting married. Congratulations.
Oh, my baby's getting married. I can't believe it.
I know, it's so hard to believe.
I think it's most important to look to everyone that we are so very much in love that we cannot wait but to be married.
This is Anna.
Well, have a go at you, eh?
Does Jackie know you're getting married?
I don't understand how we could leave her for Anna.
Oh, well, you know, she's interesting. She's quite beautiful, really. You know, she's charming.
Of course you know if you touch her, I will kill you.
Good call. No, absolutely.
So now you know where Steve gets his good looks from.
I see.
What's the secret? A healthy love life. I was afraid you might say that.
Do you have any idea how long it's been since we've had sex?
I'm so sorry, Dick.
Dick? What? You kidding me? You're dating a guy called Dick?
It wasn't because I didn't love you, Mum. There's just no magic in this sack.
Yep.
So how's Jackie handling it? You have told her.
Tell me what?
Film Bus Forecast, and as I mentioned earlier, next Thursday sees the release in local cinemas, and it's a coincidence, or maybe it was part of some sort of overall plan, the work of 3 VCA graduates, or Swinburne Film School as it would have been when they attended. Amanda Jane and The Wedding Party. Amanda's with us in the studio. Also Andrew Dominic with Killing Them Softly, and John Hillcoat and his film Lawless. They're all birds of a different feather though, aren't they?
Yeah, they're quite different films.
I should have formally introduced you. Amanda Jane, the director.
Hello.
And Nicole Minchin, the producer of The Wedding Party, which started life out as Kin.
That's right. Yes, yes. We the film was called Kin, and we had a lot of different themes of sex and love and family, and that's why it was called Kin. But then we found when we were looking at marketing and got into that sort of sphere that, you know, mixing the themes of family and sex was, you know,
became something else.
Yes, exactly. So we And we also got advice from distribution that it would be better if we sort of gave it a film with the wedding in the title, and we liked the idea as well. So we came up with The Wedding Party.
Now, the screenplay's by Christine Bartlett, who I don't know personally, but I've seen her in a few films, short films. I think she's an absolute scream. Do you remember, it was about 10 years ago, a Clayton Jacobson short called Tickler?
Yes.
About a couple who are parked outside a sex shop, and they're a bit embarrassed as to who's going to make the first move to go in and buy a sex aid and not feel self-conscious about it.
Yes, definitely.
And also later she was in Tanaka. Are you obviously old friends, or how did you link up together?
Well, we actually worked in advertising together at the same production company.
Not with Aunt Keogh, maybe?
Oh, well,
no?
I know Ant, but not at the same production company. And she was wanting to get into writing, and I was wanting to do a feature. I was working on another feature there, which sort of got up and then fell through, and as they do sometimes. And she was really interested in the same sort of genres that I was interested in, which was ensemble sort of relationship films. And so, we decided to work on it together and start storylining it. And, you know, she was mostly interested in the relationships, and I was interested in bringing in family to it, and the wedding, and having that as a climax to pull all the stories together. So we storylined it and worked on it until we got, you know, a good sort of second or third draft, and then invited Nicole to come on board, and she read the script, and thankfully she loved it.
I loved it, absolutely.
Great. And this didn't happen overnight, or even a space of a couple of years. It was a process, a very long process, and also included your participation in Indie Vision.
That's right, yes.
So what did that bring to the process? And can you describe Indie Vision for those who don't know what we're talking about?
Well, Indie Vision is a project lab which you sort of go to with your draft of your script, and it goes through different advisors who read the script, and also we also workshopped a scene of the film at Indie Vision. You talk about marketing of the films, talk about all different sort of processes of the script and ways that it could be improved, and it was really great for us.
It's a safe environment to sort of openly discuss the film and get some feedback. And as Amanda said, we did a scene with Adam Zwar playing Tommy, at that time, and of course he then stayed on as Tommy in the film, which was great.
Can it be slightly daunting because you're dealing with industry professionals, including quite often it might be someone like a Ted Hope or a John Sayles or whatever, people who come out as advisors.
Yes, it was, and I actually went on after the film was made to the Toronto Directors Lab, which was incredible, and we had Lee Daniels, who made Precious, and Stephen Woolley, and Deepa Mehta, and some amazing sort of people come in, and so that was an incredible process too. So I think those type of things, especially when you're making your first feature, which both Nicole and I were doing, being involved and getting that kind of advice was invaluable, really.
Do you think sometimes romantic comedy, what they're now referred to as rom-coms, can sometimes get a bit of a bad press? Because I certainly know some of the Hollywood films, you see a rom-com with Kate Hudson, although she's a good performer, they tend to be somewhat formulaic.
Yeah, that was a really interesting part of the process as well, because the film is ensemble and because it had these rom-com elements to it, when we sort of took it to different sort of script advisors and people like that, they were sort of trying to push it in either direction, sort of maybe it should go a bit this way or maybe it should be more focused on the wedding, but the joy of the film for me and for us was that the layered stories and the different characters, and so we really sort of fought to maintain that throughout, and it was sort of the mix of the genres was something that caused a lot of stirs now and again and discussion, but yeah, I'm really thrilled that we were able to maintain that, because I think one of our reviews says not your average rom-com, which
but that's praise, surely.
Yes, which I thought was great, because it has those elements, but it's not the same. It has sort of different elements to it and makes it a little bit oddball in a way, or a bit different, and which I really like about it.
And Nicole, what's your background? How you became involved in film and television?
Well, I used to work for Nadia Tass and David Parker, actually.
Cascade
Films, yes. And that was a great experience, and saw them do the feature film Amy, and I remember handing out flyers everywhere, and so doing the same thing with our film. But
well, that would be a lesson in itself, because not only with people who are much loved and experienced, but also every time they start a new project, it's like you're going back to zero.
Yes.
No one does you any favours.
That's so true, exactly. Yeah. No, I know, and I got to witness that firsthand, so that was brilliant. I've done a bit of advertising, as Amanda has as well, and TV. So it's a bit of a mixed bag, and animation. So for some reason, but
when you actually you've got the finance in place and you go out to make the movie, I mean, this must be a very exciting time when you actually start to. It's like going into the kitchen and you've got all the ingredients. Now let's make a recipe. And can you talk a bit about that, the casting process? Because when you had Josh Lawson, he's right at the start of his career, isn't he?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was talking before about those script processes that you go through, and a lot of feedback that we were getting was that our central character was unlikable, and that we had to make him more likable in some ways, and I thought the fact that he was unlikable was the most interesting part about him, and I love films like James L. Brooks' films like As Good as It Gets, where the central character seems to be the most unlikable person you can think of, and I just knew we had to have a actor that had charisma enough to sort of make that character likable, even though he's lying to his whole family and going through this whole situation. So he was, apart from Adam Zwar, who we'd already cast as as Tommy, he was, the first person that we sort of cast in the actual family. So we built the rest of the cast around him. We had to find a family that looked like him, with Nadine Garner playing his sister, and Heather Mitchell, the mother, and Steve Bisley playing the father. And so the casting process was a really big process, but fantastic, helped by Jane Norris, of course, who's brilliant.
And Jeff Payne, who's well known, for all kinds of things, but he's playing a role which, on the surface, he's a bit of a farcical character, but there's deeper currents running through his life which are obsessed with some sympathy within the film, without wanting to give plot points away.
I just think Jeff is amazing in the film. Like, I'm just so thrilled that, he played that character, and it's such an interesting character. It's different, and there's a lot of different audience reactions to him that I found in festival screenings, and some people just think he's amazing, like the character, and some people sort of are bothered by it, or some people don't think we treated it right. But I think it was interesting to include, and when we were sort of working on the story, we really wanted to see the effects of the parents and the father, who had been having affairs for years, had on the children and their sexual relationships and their intimate relationships, and we sort of saw the eldest son sort of went on a path of escapism and a bit like his father, sort of a bit of philandering.
Yes.
And the daughter became unable to function in that department with her vulvodynia subplot, and the younger son could kind of go either way, and so the film was about sort of his journey, or the glue that brought the film together was his journey, and which way is he going to go, and I won't tell you what happens in the end. You probably know.
Well, I know what happens in the end, but the recent crop of not just romantic comedies, but also it's got nothing to do with your film, but then again, it has the series Tangle, which I really adore. One of the people behind that, who must be some sort of genius, is the location manager, because you're seeing
I agree.
that, and I actually grew up in that area around the Hawthorne boat sheds, and it's great to see these places on film, and it creates such a strong sense of place. We're used to seeing this in films set in New York or London, but it's still a bit of a novelty in Melbourne. And a lot of the films, I'm thinking of things like Any Questions for Ben, I Love You Too, and I'm thinking of Tangle, that the sense of place is very important. And when you're making a film like this, you haven't got an extremely high budget, and you're moving from location to location. How much can you plan this and sort of not go out on a situation, oh God, that location we want to use, we're not going to have time to do it, or whatever?
Well, we had, I think, 40 locations.
Yeah, something like that.
Didn't we?
Yeah, it was quite a lot. And we did have some that fell through sort of at the last minute, because things happen. But
then there must be magical things where things come through at the last minute.
And then what you end up with in the end is better than what you thought you were going to have. Right. So
we shot all over Melbourne. The church was in Williamstown, and we shot in Brighton and Elwood, and also sort of places around Northcote, and so we really sort of soaked up the whole city. And
you've got AFL endorsement.
Oh yes,
exactly.
that couldn't have been easy.
Well, Nicole organised that, which was amazing. Like, I'm a mad Carlton supporter.
Right.
And,
yes, you would be mad to support Carlton.
So we wanted to really capture a great, Carlton-Collingwood game, because the family in the film is split, half of Collingwood and half of Carlton. And so Nicole sort of arranged it with the AFL.
Yeah, and of course we went to the match, and Collingwood actually won the match, but in the film I think it's the end result slightly different.
Yeah, I switched it around. Bit of CGI there.
I thought I noticed, I might be wrong on this, sort of Woodend or Mount Macedon area.
Yes, we really wanted a bit of a change of season happening in the film, and in the original script, it actually snowed at the end for the first time in years in Melbourne. And
I cancelled that, yeah.
Yeah, the producer just went, okay, that's gone. But so that at the beginning of the shoot, we just did some pickup days, getting the beautiful trees, and because I love that about Melbourne, and just for the time for our shooting, Macedon was really going through that period, because it goes a bit delayed after Melbourne does. So we wanted to capture that, and heading into winter, and the beautiful English trees we have in this city. So,
did you nearly fall over when you got a phone call? Presumably, you got a phone call from Richard Moore saying they want to screen your film as opening night at MIFF.
Oh my God!
That was amazing. He rang and he said, "Are you sitting down?" And I just started shaking. I said, "Please don't say this if it's not actually true." But yeah, it was very exciting. We were beside ourselves.
It was fantastic. It was amazing. It's just one of those things that, you know, in your life, those moments that, you know, you go, this is one of them.
Yeah.
You've both had a lot of experience and varied experience in that, particularly you, Nicole, with TV series like Lowdown. It seems to me like you just sit down on the TV, in front of the TV tomorrow night. You've got Killing Time and the Julian Assange story. I mean, Julian Assange, a TV movie, but it played at Toronto, and you know it's directed by Bob Connolly, and you know there's a lot to feel proud about. But you know it's these people are pulling rabbits out of hats, aren't they?
Yes. Yeah, it's not. I mean, look, it's a tricky industry, and it's you know, there's so much time that goes into every project that you work on. It's you know, and you're lucky when you've got a winner, which this film is. Yes.
do you think that your time at VCA, you would have made short films? Were they part of your training? They get exposure at film festivals and give you confidence and also get you noticed so that you could get funding for more ambitious projects?
Yes, I mean, I think so. I definitely, you know, had a graduate film that did really well in the festival circuits, and that opened up my first professional job, which was doing a short film at the ABC as part of their shortwave program, where at that stage Tony Ayres was a part of that as well, and people like that. And so it's just sort of starting to get your network, and I developed this other film in the meantime, and when that fell through, it sort of, you know, took a big 6 months out of my filmmaking career of just coming to terms with it, and then started on this project. And I think Lawrence Johnson, who was our project developer at the time at the AFC, he was amazingly supportive of the film. And when my graduate film came out, his Eternity came out around the same time, so he was aware of me, and he'd also worked with Nicole just on another short film through the AFC, so he was aware of her as well. So I think that it definitely did help in ways, but it also really comes down to the project and the team and the script. And
of course, people might forget this, but Eternity was lit by Dion Beebe. Look at him now.
Oh yes, I worked for him at that time. I think it's amazing.
I'm talking out of school here, and correct me if I'm being impertinent, but a spy told me that one of the projects you spent a bit of time on was about schoolies.
That's
and
right.
you got gazumped.
Yeah, I did a little bit. But that was a long time ago, and I've recovered since then. But yeah, it was an amazing project, and it was an ensemble like this film was, because that was always a genre that I was...
It doesn't just happen in Hollywood, does it? And there's no copyright on ideas. And sometimes projects get up because they're packaged or whatever, and it doesn't matter in some ways about the intrinsic artistic worth.
Yeah.
You know, commerce plays a role as well, and timing.
Absolutely. And yeah, so that was a really hard thing to come to terms with, because I put a lot of work into that film, and we actually had Heath Ledger attached to play the lead role in it. And I was talking to him, you know, he was over in Hollywood and just sort of starting out doing 10 Things I Hate About You and things like that at the time. And so it was a really, really exciting time. And, you know, we'd launched and had websites and all of that kind of stuff, and we were in pre-production, and to have it fall through at that stage, it was really, really heartbreaking. But you know, took a couple of months off and then started working on the next one. So
now, this film was shown a couple of years ago at MIF, and now it's getting a belated commercial release, and it's since been fine-tuned a bit. And you lost one of the, was it like Arkell's Entertainment or whatever? What was the story there? A New Zealand distributor, and that was just a bad luck, was it?
We did have a New Zealand distributor. I think just there was a number of circumstances that came into play, and so we mutually agreed to sort of part company, but at the same time we had decided that we were going to work on the re-edit of the film, and so that sort of became our main focus, which was great because we sort of took the pressure off ourselves and just really focused on that with Jill Bilcott editing with us. Yeah, it was fantastic.
Well, luckily enough, she saw it at MIF and she really enjoyed the film, and she knew, she said to me when I first spoke to her, I know exactly what to do with it. Okay, great. and I was terrified, like, you know, because you're so
Would
close
be
to it at this stage.
terrifying,
Like, I mean, not terrified about her. Like, if anyone was going to do it in the whole world, I would pick her. Like, I just admire her so much, and I think I felt it safe in her hands, but I was still afraid because there was this whole thing of trying to keep the ensemble and trying to keep all the characters, and I was scared that we're going to have to maybe lose a couple of characters or something like that would happen. But when I was so relieved when I first saw it, because she rigorously went through every single scene and took off a little bit here, a little bit there, cut out a line here that she didn't think worked, and so it's the same film, and it's just got a new pace, and I actually love it. I just think it's new and improved, really.
Well, Jill Bilcock adding to those VCA links we discussed earlier.
Exactly, yes.
One of the original students at Swinburne back, I don't know, 40 years ago.
I know, and she came in to lecture when I was at film school, and she was just such a great inspiration. And she was showing us cuts from Elizabeth and things like that, and it was really amazing. And she was just so generous, and she was, you know, just so lovely. And I actually popped in and I saw when she was editing Mental, and she showed me a scene, and I just think she's just a genius.
Now, Nicole, you've had a long association with Adam and Amanda, and
Yes.
you know, we think of Lowdown, but also Agony Aunts and Uncles.
Yes.
Is there a chance of Agony Cousins? Can the franchise keep expanding?
I think that the franchise will go on until I'm 90. I think there are so many possibilities, and yes, we're certainly talking about, you know, spin-offs of the Agony, brand. So it's great, and it's actually just sold to Finland, the format.
Oh, fantastic!
And they're doing anything from 15 to 100 episodes. It's so so they can see it as well. So that's great.
Well, having the opportunity to see Lowdown up close and personal, I was very, very impressed. What a kind of lean, highly efficient unit, and this is what you need to be, isn't it? If you're going to be able to produce any kind of drama in Australia.
Absolutely, you need to be able to, but at the same time, you know, I always want the directors that I work with to aim high, and you know, hope that I can help them achieve, you know, to realise what they're visualising. But it's definitely tough, that's for sure. But you did a great job in Lowdown, by the way, Paul.
I wish I could say my part was cut down, but I think it might have been expanded, if anything, because I think it was a slow-mo one. But,
it was great. It was crucial.
Can I ask you this, at risk of embarrassing you, you've won a Greg Tepper Award.
That's right, yes, I did.
Now, the late Greg Tepper was a very much-loved figure at Film Victoria and as a producer. And
yes, I didn't know Greg, but yes, I've only heard fantastic things about him. So
what was that award for? Was that for Producer of the Year? Or
it was, I think, yes, it was something like that. Producing, I don't know, exceptional producing, Paul. No, I'm not.
VCA is full of people who want to be auteurs, writers, directors or whatever, and I mean, I always love quoting the cartoon I saw in the New Yorker once, and it's two dogs sitting in front of a bowl, one dog saying to the other, but what I really want to do is direct.
Yeah, exactly.
But you know, when you look at the history of especially Australian feature production, the producers, in many cases, females have been the true creators, just in finding valuable properties and then matching the talent.
Yes, Amanda, did you hear that?
It's an undervalued,
I don't agree with that.
I think it's an undervalued skill. Well, you look at, you know, back in the 70s when the industry revived, producers like Pat Lovell, who did, you know, Picnic at Hanging Rock, Margaret Kelly, who did the original Puberty Blues, Joan Long. Yeah. It's been a very strong tradition.
Yes, yes. Well, look, I'm actually very fortunate. I work with two amazing directors in Amanda Jane and Amanda Brocci at our company Highway Films with Adam Zwar, but yes, no, I've I don't really know where I can go from there.
No, I can tell you a bit about her. She's an amazing producer. Like, I think I've worked with all sorts of producers in advertising, but there's some people that just see a budget and we can't do this, we can't do that, we can't do that, which is realistic in everything. But, you know, directors are always seeing the bigger picture and everything. And Nicole's absolutely, we'll work out a way, we'll find a way. And she, you know, otherwise we wouldn't have been able to do an ensemble picture with all these actors and 40 characters and everything.
Thanks, Amanda. I'll pay you later for that.
Well, here's an observation I'd like to share with you, which is not really germane to the general thrust of the conversation, but it somehow fits in. I've noticed in recent years with St Kilda Film Festival, a lot of actors going out there, and in their downtime, they're creating work. A lot of very famous actors, and they're pulling in friends and favours and doing very ambitious films, like Damien Walsh Howling did a kind of movie that it was kind of like an Australian version of The Tree of Life. And these films are not funded, and they're coming out of left field. And I think partly this has got to do with the fact that today the process has been democratised. You can go out and buy a $3,000 camera and get fantastic results.
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes you do just have to, you can't wait for funding to happen, and it is such a small group of people that actually do get funding, so sometimes you do just have to pick up the shovel and get going.
When you're involved in your productions and also with the wedding party, do you actually hire people as attachments? Is that part of the process, or do you try to?
Yes, I always try to hire 2 people as attachments on projects, for sure. So interested in people learning. The last person attachment that we had, we asked how he was going, and he said he was bored. So
really,
so I've really got to try and make things a bit more interesting. But no, we always do try to get attachments, and a lot of RMIT writing students always want to come along, and they often want to see the writers' room. But I haven't really had a writer's room.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that too, because RMIT, and Amanda was a student at RMIT. Yeah. They go out during the breaks into that cafeteria in Cardigan Street and look down across the river to the VCA. And I don't know if people from the VCA were looking up to RMIT, but they never really met. So you had all these people with writing skills and all these people who were learning the craft of direction. I thought, gee, there should be stronger links. And
it doesn't make sense, does it, really?
Exactly.
Yeah. No, that's interesting.
But I think that's changed gradually. But certainly I know that students at RMIT, they learn script writing, not so much by sitting in the classes, but by forming alliances and networking and meeting other like-minded people.
They seem very proactive.
Very much so.
Yeah.
So what does the future hold in terms of projects, and what do you want to be doing? How do you make a living? You've done music videos and TVCs and all.
Yes, I have a production company with my partner, Chris Benz, who's also a director and has worked with you on Burning Wolf, which I thought you were brilliant in.
Chris Benz, you just reminded me of something. We did I think it was a Trot Fest trailer, or was it Trot Fest or Flicker Fest or one of those? Down at the Astor.
Yes, this is a Burning Wolf, yes.
Oh, yes, sorry, I forgot the name of it. Yeah.
Which was played a part of Inside Film Awards and all
Gee,
that.
This is incestuous, isn't it? Because I'm thinking back again, one of my favourite opening night films at St Kilda, going back probably 10 years or more, was a film that Chris did called Noise.
I know, wasn't it brilliant?
It was so... If you show that film today, it wouldn't have dated a bit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I just love it. I think it's fantastic. It did so well in Tropfest and won all
what's the setup? All these inner city yuppies going off to have dinner, probably in Brunswick Street, but a car alarm goes off and poor old Clayton Jacobson can't sleep, and the residents get pretty angry. And
yes, and they're sort of trying to shut this car alarm off while everybody else is pontificating about how to solve, the middle class problems of the world. It's really clever. It's really, really funny.
I love music. I love musicians because they can take noises and turn them into harmonies. Whoever thought out that idea of noise, that was so inspired, and if that idea hadn't been thought up till now, it's just as topical as it once was.
Yes. Well, maybe he should make it into a feature.
I think it might outstay its welcome. We have got some double passes to give away to the premiere of The Wedding Party, and this is taking place tomorrow at Acme.
Yes, it's tomorrow night at Acme at 8 p.m.
Are you going to intro it?
Yes, I'm introing it, along with a couple of cast members who are coming along. It's going to be a lovely event, and all the monies that have been raised for the ticket sales are going to charity to Very Special Kids, which is a very special organisation.
So what time is it again?
It's 8 p.m. at Acme Federation Square. Right. We've got 4 double passes to give away.
And we're going to go out with a piece of music from the film. Am I right there in assuming that?
This is called Sweet Dreams, and Claire Bogie sings on this, and it was composed by Greg Walker, who is our composer of the film.
All the best for the future, and congratulations again on The Wedding Party. You're listening to Film Bus Forecast.
Sweet dreams, you give me sweet dreams. I remember when we met, you were a shy boy, and then you were aiming for the sky. It don't hurt when it hits you, you can paint a pretty picture, and it's there when you look me in the eye. You give me sweet, sweet dreams. You give me sweet, sweet dreams. Your demands outstripping my supply.